Hi, I'm Faraz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hi Mark, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you again, for us. Nice to speak to you.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you for agreeing to be a guest. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Finally, I've been waiting for a while. Yeah.
No, I appreciate you always, supporting the podcast, engaging, listening in, and you've been on my list. I was just waiting for the right time, so I think now's a good time to do it. With a lot going on, it was obviously we had the pleasure to meet, which was nice. It's always nice to. I've been very used to interviewing people who I've never met, so it's nice to actually meet someone before I'm recording with them for once.
No, it's nice to talk to you again, and I'm happy to be invited now. So
Amazing, amazing. Well, it'd be great to, for people who, I think maybe most of the Netherlands, community would know who you are, but it'd be nice for, or those who may not, or, globally, a bit of introduction to yourself.
yeah, yeah. So my name is Mark, Mark Bus. I've worked for ABN Amro. I've been with ABN Amro for more than 25 years, so very long time. Wasn't
Very long
planned.
time.
It happened.
Yeah.
Um, ABN AMRO is a bank, obviously, a bank with a very long history, more than 200 years. So I've been part of 25 years of that
Yeah, yeah,
history.
yeah.
Throughout ABN's history, it had many different forms and shapes, but at the moment it's a bank focused on the northwestern region of Europe. Obviously, the Netherlands being our home market, where we are a
Yeah.
top three bank. But we also have a presence in Belgium, France, Germany, and the UK. Um, so 25 years with the same company, but I had many different jobs.
Yeah.
Mostly, I think the red line throughout my career is change. So I started out in project management, did that for a long time. Process management, that's where I also got my passion for lean management. I'm a Lean
Wow.
Sigma black belt. That's what got me interested in agile way of working. Ultimately, got me to the IT part of ABN AMRO
Mm.
Bank, where I've been for the last 10 years, in the role of IT product owner. So I own products that are used by other IT teams. So I'm part of a department where we provide software development platforms. We have multiple in our portfolio to other IT teams. And I think for the last 7 years or so, I've been the product owner for our Mendix implementation.
Amazing. And yeah, I was going to say, 25 years in one company, it's very rare to, I think it's very rare to see these days, it's, with the kind of way things evolve. So it's nice to see people, sticking around, committed. But what's great is obviously, like you said, you've worn several hats throughout the business, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, it's like changing roles because it's a new challenge within the same business, right? It's just kind
And
of,
there was no plan behind it. It just happened. So I'm still
yeah,
enjoying my work, which I
yeah,
think is the most important thing. And
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and you guys obviously a well-known Mendix user, and I want to kind of go back to when at the beginning when you kind of what made the bank or that process start of what problem were you trying to solve when you thought let's go out and look at solutions.
Yeah, I think a lot of that starts with our identity as a bank. As a bank, you have responsibilities. You're part of systems. You're part of an economic system, part of a financial system. We are curators of data and assets. And with that in mind, we always develop software with a focus on security, stability, availability, and chose our IT standards accordingly. But at the same time, we're just an organization like any other organization. So
Oh.
we are also facing an overwhelming demand for digitalization. So we decided, heavily inspired by Gartner and the bimodal IT model, that besides that way of working that we already mastered, developing software in areas that are known, well understood, with a strong focus on security, etc. We also needed a mode of more agile and flexible way of working when it comes to developing applications and software. So that's where we looked at low code. This was, I think, about 10 years ago when we started the
Wow.
journey and started thinking about it.
Yeah.
Then in 2016, I think we made a decision. Yeah, we need a low code platform next to the way of working. We are, of course, on one side, we try to be we try to be early adapters, but on the other side, we're
Mm.
also very conservative.
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea, our crown jewels, as we call them, our payment systems, these type of things, they run still on our own data centers
Mm.
in the basement of one of our buildings
Wow.
on bare metal. But on the other side, we are more and more becoming a digital company. I mean, most of our customers engage with us through digital channels. So
Mm.
digitalization is very much at the heart of our strategy.
Yeah. And you mentioned looking at Gartner. What else kind of, when you decided obviously you wanted to look at low code 10 years ago, I think obviously low code was known, but not that well known. I think, it's very, especially Mendix and all these other platforms was still, I think even though they'd been around for a while, the brand itself wasn't that known. What drew you to low code in itself to say, okay, this is something we need in our tool belt?
I mean, low code and citizen development were basically the two answers that
Yeah.
were commonly agreed as the solution for the overwhelming demand for digitalization. Citizen development is a bit of a sensitive topic in our
Yeah.
organization, but low code was really something. Okay, we need to start looking into to low code. And like you said, there were already quite some well-known low-code
Yeah.
platform providers at that time, but it was also something that was not widely used, especially not in
Mm.
our industry, in the financial services industry. It was not a well-known thing. So we basically had three criteria for selecting a solution. Uh, and most of them are not unique to low code, but more in
Mm.
generic how we look at software development and software suppliers.
Mm.
The first one is we follow a best of breed strategy. So we really want to work with well-known and leading
Yeah.
companies. So we look for a leader in the field of low-code application development. The other thing that's really important to us is we needed a solution that was flexible enough to allow us to establish our own IT guardrails. So yeah,
Mm.
we have very strict information security policies in our organization. They are derived from regulation, legislation, but also our internal strategy. So we needed a platform that was flexible enough also to allow us to realize those guardrails. And yeah, closely to that second point is our third point. We wanted to be able to host it on our own infrastructure. We wanted to be able to bring our own cloud and to be in complete control of the hosting infrastructure that we use for our low-code platform. And ultimately, we made a short list of three low-code application platform providers. Obviously, we went with Mendix.
Yeah.
And the main reason was that at that time they were the only platform that properly supported multiple deployment options, including deploying on your own cloud.
Yeah. And you mentioned obviously, leaders and they've been a leader for a long time, but also well-known brands, right? Was there any, because back then Siemens wasn't tied to Mendix when you made that
No,
decision.
not yet.
So they probably, from those three pillars that you said, they ticked a lot of it, but the brand awareness side probably wasn't as big. Was there any kind of doubt or hesitation, or once you saw the platform, a lot of these low code platforms, they do their selling with when people actually see it. So was it one of those things where you saw it and you were just convinced?
Yeah, to be honest, not only Mendix was not very well known, at least in our
Yeah.
organization. The same goes for all of the other low-code
Yeah.
application
Yeah.
platform providers. So basically, they were all on a on a level playing field
Level. Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
comes to reputation and being well known. Um, we did do a proof of concept also to basically demonstrate and basically also to educate our organization on what is low code and how does it work.
Mm.
So I think most of the low code providers have sort of a app in a day concept on the
Yeah.
shelf somewhere,
Yeah.
and that's typically what you use to convince your organization. Um, and then, of course, there's all sorts of things like third-party risk management that look into the company itself and how
Mm.
stable is it financially, etc. But to be honest, this whole vendor selection process took place before I became the product owner. So
Yeah.
everything that happened in that stage, it's all secondhand. It's from
Yeah.
hearsay.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And as the when you came in as the product owner, what was your, at the time, initial vision, for Mendix, and how is that kind of within the organization, and how has that evolved over time, especially with the technology forever evolving as well?
Yeah, so before I became the product owner of Mendix, I worked with other low-code platforms. So I worked with a platform, also a Dutch software vendor called Backbase, and we used one of their solutions to allow developers in our organization to build web forms. So this is something that we used in our customer-facing channel. And one of the concepts or the framework that we developed for that implementation was really focus on reusability and building blocks. E-commerce is a very dynamic affair, very data-driven. So we have online sales specialists on a daily basis looking at conversion rates and these type of things. And it's basically the ideal lean cycle of build, measure, learn, improve. And that concept of reusable building block really it works really well with that dynamic. So it allows you to build really fast, but also to make amendments and changes really fast. So initially, when we started with Mendix, for me personally, Mendix of course comes with a lot of reusable building blocks. And that's the nature of a low-code platform. But one of the things that we really focused on was also delivering reusable enterprise components. So reusability was one of the big pillars, but also the whole philosophy of providing an all-in-one platform. If you use Mendix
Mm.
or any other low-code platform as an all-in-one platform, you're probably relying a lot on online services that they provide. Obviously, that was not an option for us. So because we're fully self-hosted.
Yeah.
So you basically have your integrated development environment and everything else you need to bring yourself.
Mm.
And there the vision was low ops, so combining low code with low ops. Basically, all of the complexity of the hosting infrastructure, the CI/CD, the monitoring, all of that is absorbed in a central team. So you can really achieve economies of scales in one team. Only one team that requires deep knowledge on Azure, Kubernetes. We use Azure as our
Yeah.
deployment cloud. Um, and having teams working on that platform that can fully focus on Mendix development as if they are working on the Mendix cloud. So that was the initial vision. We also had a vision of, dream big, start small. We
Yeah.
realized that on day one, you don't have a fully operational low code capability. So we gradually matured and extended our platform with building blocks. So for example, we started with simple virtual machine hosting because that was the easiest thing to
Yeah.
realize. And you buy a license and you want to achieve a return on investment. You cannot afford to spend months building your whole deployment platform, all of the CI/CD pipelines, etc. And the same approach we took for application building. We started with very small applications, pretty much standalone, so little integration, low complexity, employee facing only, so also low sensitivity. And then as we started getting traction with Mendix, we started to extend and expand both in complexity, but also in size, in numbers. So the initial focus was really focused on reusability because that's the power of low code. You either use the reusable building blocks that are developed by your low code provider, tested by them,
Yeah.
developed with feedbacks of thousands of customers. Obviously, you need also your own building blocks to fit a low-code platform in your enterprise, but also their focus really on reusability. So create one building block to integrate, for example, with your identity and access management services, and not have all of the teams on your platform developing the same thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reusability, um, and dream big, start small. I mean, we've been doing that, and we're still dreaming, and we're still not done with growing and expanding our platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the back of that, can you talk me through what was your kind of first major implementation that you went through? Where you kind of pushed the boundaries and kind of went through and built something. And can you talk me through? Obviously, every process there's a learning curve, right? So there's wins, there's challenges, So can you talk me through the first big implementation? Obviously the successes of it, but also the learning points from it as well.
Yeah, we focused with our initial focus was on legacy migrations. So
Mm.
we came out of an era where we had developed a lot of Lotus Notes applications. We had a strategic partnership with IBM, so Lotus Notes was quite present in
Oh,
our organization, and also a lot of Lotus Notes applications. MX Access, SharePoint, complex Excel sheets, and these were all things that we wanted to move to a more future-proof platform. And Mendix was one of the targets for that portfolio. What we learned there is starting with legacy migration only is probably not a good choice, because if you're rebuilding an existing application, then the first minimal viable product of your Mendix application in this case is typically an application that contains at least the functionality of the application that you're replacing. So these are not really short development processes that can take a long
mhm.
time, and hence it also takes a long time to generate value. Obviously, the value is in replatforming it and making it
Yeah.
future proof. But what we learned initially is that you really also need to start working with greenfield initiatives, because there you can really demonstrate the power of rapid application development and low code. If you start with from scratch and you deliver your first MVP that go to production in a matter of weeks, that was our dream and our vision for rapid application development. And one of our first early successes are, yeah, I call them quarter four applications. So we work with a fiscal calendar that starts in January and ends in December. So many of our plans and ambitions are basically anchored in that planning.
Yeah.
And what you see happen a lot is that in the third quarter of the year, people are starting to get concerned about achieving their ambitions and their plans. We are organized in functional grids, and each function that can be a product oriented function like mortgages or credits, but also a functional oriented grid like human resources or risk management. But each function has a business part and an IT part. They're basically partnered up. And the IT part typically has already a toolbox that they can use, a different flavor. So in HR, they work a lot with SAP solutions.
Mm.
In our digital channels, they work a lot with more traditional high code solutions, Java, Vue.js,
Yeah.
JavaScript. So a lot of these problems or ambitions that they have are solved with the tools that they have available in their toolbox. So that's I always use the I didn't invent it myself, but if your only tool is a hammer, then every problem becomes a nail.
Yes.
That's what's taking place there as well. And then in the third quarter of the year, if you start realizing, well, we are not going to make all of our solutions available for the end of this year, we are not going to meet our ambitions. We need to look to solutions to quickly deliver this. And then they discover rapid application development. Then they discover low code. And these are the sort of use cases that really were important for our initial success in our organization. These are the use cases that come to you and then say, we have a big problem. We have to deliver this and this solution before the end of this year. And then basically, if you can deliver a first MVP in a couple of weeks, that's what makes people happy. And that's also what makes people realize that low code is really a serious tool in the toolbox. So all of these tools have their own purpose, but low code is really suitable for rapid application development.
And I can imagine, obviously, you said obviously that the IT and the business side pairing up. The business side must, um, when you're delivering these things at that speed, you're only convincing more and more people, right? Because obviously, low code is one of the things where you're either skeptical or you just don't know enough about it with most people around. So that kind of mindset of, okay, well, now we need to hit Q4 and we're going to kind of push it through and get it delivered only builds more confidence, I could imagine, within the business unit to build more going into the next year.
Yeah, that's true, but it's also the flip side is that people are starting to ask for Mendix applications. I want a Mendix application, and I think the business is really there to tell them what they need, but not also tell us how to realize it. And that's really an IT responsibility. And I strongly believe that we should not build everything on low code platforms. We have different flavors of software development,
Yeah.
each with their own purpose. And some solutions, we still have high code and traditional programming languages used in our organization, and they have a place in the toolbox. So if you're building low code and you start noticing that you're adding a lot of custom code to make it work, then probably you should have started with high code.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the popularity within the business and realizing that you can deliver really fast also leads to a situation where people are asking, I want a Mendix application, where maybe the problem that they're trying to solve is better matched with other technologies. So, but it did help a lot. I do believe that the key persons or personas in our organization that really helped us grow are more the solution designers and the architects. So those people are in between the business problem and the IT solution. When they came aware of low code and what we can do and how we have positioned it in our toolbox, I think that's when we started to really get traction with our low code platform.
Yeah, and I think you're right there. Where I think a lot of people these days they have this mindset of, okay, low code is an option to replace traditional, when it's not. It's just another solution that you can look at internally, because everything, like you said, not everything will be done in low code, right? It can be, there'll be sometimes just better options for something else. And I think that's where it's slowly maybe being better known, but I think there's still a lot of work to be done for people to know it's not one or the other. They can be kind of together in the one organization and kind of just strategically picked, which one is the right one for for that application.
Yeah, and there's a lot of I mean, to be honest, low code is still a bit of a blind spot in many
Mm,
places in our organization. And
mm.
if you talk to the more high code oriented teams, then that it's frowned upon a little bit. It's less than. But if you look at it from another perspective, nobody is not there is no IT team or in our organization who's bored. There's no team who doesn't have more work than they can deliver, and it's all
Yeah.
about basically matching the right tools with the right problems. And um, the question should be the other way around. Can we also build this on low code? Because if we
Mm,
can, let's move it to a low code backlog
yeah.
so that we can focus as a high code team or traditional development team on those workloads that cannot move to a low code
Mm,
platform. And I think the mindset needs to be on results and not so much on how to achieve those results. And there are some people who are really happy being a Java developer, and there are some people who are really happy to be a low-code developer, and both can exist next to each other. It's just I think the trick is to match the right use cases with the right developer.
yeah. Yeah. And speaking about traditional people frowning on low code, I think it'll always be around, but I want to kind of talk about the early stages. Obviously, things have evolved now, and your team is quite large. But the early stages of how was that process around upskilling internal people? Building your own teams. How was that process for you? And what challenges did you find? Because there's always these resistance issues. There's some people who will try it out and then drop off and say, what, I love Java. I'm going. Or obviously with your business, it's great because there is traditional projects as well. But did you have resistance? Was there a big kind of pushback on it, or was it quite an easier process for you?
There's there is resistance typically from people and teams that are using other technologies. I think the biggest challenges with us in our organization were, on one side, low code is being underestimated. On the other side, low code is being overestimated. And to
Mm,
start with the last thing, there is this conception that low code is very easy, it's really fast, you
yeah,
can, but yes, it is fast, but it's not easy. It's still
yeah,
software development. And if you don't do it right, it's just a way of building very bad software really
mm,
fast. And so that was a big challenge for us because basically the success of your initial projects pretty much define the future of your
yeah,
platform. And so that was one side, and it also made it very obvious and clear and transparent that you need really skilled low-code developers in your team. And I also believe in people learning or people transitioning from a business function to a low-code
yeah,
or a traditional high-code developer transitioning into low-code, but you need a framework around that with more experienced people who understand
yeah,
low code. Uh, but also, I mean, low code absorbs so much complexity for a developer that low code developers who have done nothing but low code are also missing the more essential
mm,
fundamental software development
yeah,
skills. So not understanding CI/CD or branching strategies or testing strategies. So you need basically a good mix of experience to make it successful, and that's something we learned the hard way in the first year, just by failing also and learning from that. So I think one of the lessons there is that you need to start with really a specialized partner to
Mhm.
depending on your sourcing strategy, build your own capability or at least knowledge in the organization. And on the other side, it's also underestimated in terms of you always hear about it's not able to scale and all of these stereotypes that may have been true 10 years ago, but low code
Mhm.
has matured so much that we are also moving into areas where we 10 years ago did not think we would be using low code. So
Yeah.
I think one of the other lessons is also to start very small in terms of positioning. And as you mature and you fill up your box of building blocks and you mature your platform by implementing more controls, you can also start moving into more sensitive and complex areas. And to be honest, a lot of our BPM portfolio, our applications with light human workflows, have diverted now to our low-code platform because it's simply faster to deliver them, and you deliver them as a full-stack application and not just a
Yeah.
BPM layer. And that's something that 10 years ago I did not think was possible. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's twofold. Either people are overestimating low code or
Yeah.
they're underestimating it, and the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I also think, it's something that we've experienced over the years as well of working in low code. I think the marketing strategy around a lot of these low code platforms has been known as citizen development. Anyone can become a developer. And that's kind of been spread out across every platform that, anyone can come pick up low code, doesn't matter about your background, and you can be an expert really fast. I think that's kind of maybe affected the way where a lot of people have maybe started with the wrong approach and kind of, gone in with hiring really junior people or just kind of going in with hiring people with less experience because that's the message that's been put out. And,
Yeah,
obviously
one one can
Gartner
make
puts them all in one category, right? They're all kind of,
yeah.
even though they have different capabilities, they're all in the one box. So people assume a lot of it is similar. And I think more and more businesses and even the platforms are not promoting it as much now, is that to be a really good all-rounded Mendix developer, yes, people with no tech background can do it. I think it's possible, but it's how much they put in themselves and the extra knowledge outside of just low code. But the best ones are always going to be the ones who have that knowledge of kind of everything and knowing, like you said, a bit like the business of deciding what goes to low code, what doesn't, for them to decide when they need to kind of think outside the box of just low code.
No, exactly. I look at the ideal development teams or the development population as a pyramid. At the top of the pyramid
Mm,
are really the experts, the people with 5 years or more
yeah.
experience, also with a broader view than only low code. So also
Mm,
understanding concepts that are coming from just basic software development. And then in the middle of the pyramid, you have the more the intermediate profiles, the people who know their
yeah.
way around in the low-code development environment,
Mm,
maybe 2 to 5 years experience. But the foundation of your development population can really be those people who are less experienced, people who are
yeah.
transitioning from a business function or
Yeah.
another technical function into low code or just starting fresh.
Mm,
But you need the top of the pyramid also to keep the foundation of the pyramid
yeah.
in check
Yeah.
and make sure that people are not developing bad habits and um, yeah, just avoiding the situation that you're just
Yeah.
building that software really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys have a, centralized, platform team, how do you support developers in the organization across, without kind of becoming a bottleneck?
Yeah, I think if you ask the teams that we support, that we are a bottleneck for them because
Okay.
it's the case of the iceberg and only seeing the 10% of the iceberg that is above the surface. So they typically don't see the 90% under the surface, which is all the complexity that we absorb for them when it comes to managing their hosting infrastructure, doing lifecycle management, regression testing all of our building blocks when new Mendix versions come out. fixing them if required. So all of that is basically
Mm.
hygiene, or it's not. I wouldn't say it's not appreciated, but it's not very visible. It is very
Yeah,
visible when they need us, and they cannot progress without
sure.
us. So yeah, I don't believe we are a real bottleneck, but there's always room for improvement. So yeah, what we do is, and I talked about our philosophy of absorbing a lot
Mm.
of the complexity, so that the development teams on our platform can really focus fully on Mendix development. Um, I also spoke about reusability, so being the curator of a centrally managed library of, at the moment, I think somewhere between 20, 30 generic building blocks that we provide, ranging from a UI theme in the ABN Amro design language to all sorts of service integrations with enterprise services. Um, I think we try to make the life of our managed developers as easy as possible. At the same time, we're also a bit of a gatekeeper. We
Mm.
are responsible for some of the controls. We enforce some of the controls from our pipelines. So yeah, we are maybe perceived as also as a bottleneck, but that's the fate of a platform team.
Yeah,
We
sure.
grow very thick skins, and I have the same sentiment towards some teams that I am depending on when it comes to services that we consume. That's just the dynamic of a platform versus a platform user. Um, yeah, so I think we're both a bottleneck, but mostly an accelerator, mostly
Yeah,
an absorber of complexity, and mostly a way of achieving economies of skills and only having deep knowledge in one place so that other places can focus on other things.
sure, sure. And talking about your COE, can you talk to me about the structuring process and what's worked well?
Yeah, so we started with one team both are responsible for creating that self-hosted Mendix platform and building applications on top of it. And as soon as we started to gain a little bit traction with application building, we decided to split the enabling from the delivery part. So the platform part from the actual application building part. The platform part is all centralized in one team. And we thought that is I mean, basically there are two ends of the spectrum, right? You have either everything in one team, which allows you to achieve optimal governance and control. But yeah, you also are, as a central team, are not very much aligned to your businesses, which are very diverse. And
Mm.
the other end of the spectrum is to have a lot of different teams that are managing their own little platform and building on top of that. And for us, the sweet spot is somewhere in between, where we have one centrally managed platform, a lot of different teams working on the platform. And if you look at our development teams, on one end of the spectrum, you have teams that are doing nothing but building Mendix applications. So that's full-time work for them. On the other end of the spectrum, you have teams that are maybe using Mendix as a solution on top of data or service that they are already responsible for. So using Mendix, for example, as a user interface and some logic on top of a Java service or an existing database. Um, the the teams that are fully focused on Mendix development are organized in development clusters. And the other end of the spectrum, where teams maybe have one or two Mendix applications, are really single teams. The development clusters are really focused on a different area of the bank. So our biggest consumer is a cluster that we call process automation. So they are tasked with all sorts of process automation challenges in our team, and they use multiple platforms. Besides Mendix, they also have an RPA platform and a BPM platform,
Mm.
rules engine solution, etc. They are our biggest consumer, and they have three teams at the moment that do nothing but build Mendix applications on a daily basis. We have also more functional oriented clusters. So we use Mendix also in our digital customer facing channels. So we have a function that's fully focused on our website and all the content in the website. In that area, that's our second largest group of Mendix developers reside in that area. So yeah, we try to find the optimal mix between fully centralized and fully decentralized. And a federated governance model as we have now was our sweet spot. I think it's now also being recognized as a best practice by Gartner. They call it platform engineering, but basically that's
Yes.
what we've been doing since 2015 with our low-code platforms, and it still works really well. I think that's one of the lessons learned. If I had to do it all over again, we would use the same concept, grow into a platform engineering setup with a federated governance model.
Yeah. And, having, obviously so many teams, I think you mentioned offline 20 teams, right? How do you kind of, and you've touched on it, but how do you ensure the consistency and the quality kind of, remains to that standard?
I think our library of reusable building blocks helps a lot. Well, I'm taking one step back. There are a lot of controls in our organization that are technology agnostic, which really also help with achieving quality and consistency. So all of our applications, whether they are built on a traditional programming language or built on a low-code platform, for example, need to have unit test coverage. That's not Mendix specific. That's something that all of our applications need to comply with. And depending on the sensitivity of an application, we have between 20 and 30 of such controls that teams need to satisfy. Testing, data security, these type of things. So that already brings a foundation that leads to a lot of consistency, because all of these teams need to comply to the same controls. They need to do self-assessments. Sometimes they're audited. They randomly choose your application, and then basically you need to evidence that you are unit testing or that you did comply with the data encryption policies. The second part is the reusable building blocks, which I think realize a lot of consistency, because all of these building blocks are used in multiple applications. I think that the third factor is really quality-driven development, providing a lot of feedback on code quality to your developers. Obviously, your low code in your studio already gives you a lot of feedback. There are consistency checks that prevent you from committing stuff that still has errors. But also in the pipeline, we have integrated a lot of quality feedback solutions. We have a vulnerability scan, for example, that will flag critical vulnerabilities and build breakers that will prevent you from deploying your application. We're currently implementing the same for more Mendix specific criteria. Best practices, Mendix security rules, having set your access rules correctly. We use an open source solution called MXLint for that. We're currently building our own rule set that we find important in our organization, so that we can basically check our Mendix applications against that rule set, get feedback on rules that are passed and failed, and ultimately also move towards build breakers in the end for things that we find very critical. So those are all ways that we use to guard quality, to guard security, and to have a consistent Mendix app portfolio. I think the last factor that we're currently enabling is also leveraging the Mendix development community. So we have somewhere between 90 and 100 developers working on our platform. In June this year, we did an internal kickoff of our development community. What we like to achieve also is that these developers in the different teams interact more with each other, exchange best practices, help each other with support questions. So basically building our own internal Mendix forum for ABN Amro.
That's
Mendix
great.
developers.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And there's no conversation these days without dimension of AI. It has to be in every conversation. I'm keen to know kind of, with AI kind of, being part of every conversation. Mendix is obviously, adding capabilities, how, is ABN Amro already, started something or, is there anything in your strategy going forward to incorporate AI?
Yeah, depending on your definition of AI, we've been quite experienced with AI, but I think you're referring more to the Gen AI.
Yes, Gen AI,
But
yeah.
we have been using machine learning for a long time. We've
Hmm.
used it in our transaction monitoring area. We have been using other cognitive services like optical character recognition and these type of things for scanning and interpreting documents, proofs of identity, proof of income, etc. For Gen AI, we also try to be an early adapter, but at the same time, we are also a bank and we have to be
Hmm.
very careful with data and connecting to AI services in the public domain. So if I look at the real concrete initiatives that we have now with Gen AI, they're mostly in the um, like the chatbot area,
Yeah.
customer engagement, and also in the data analysis area. If you look at low code and Mendix in specific, they basically have um, a twofold approach. On one side, focus on building smarter applications. So I do believe that Mendix is ideal to create user interfaces on top of Gen AI services. Although we don't have any concrete use cases at the moment, we are experimenting a lot in our organization with Gen AI and these sort of use cases. Uh, but really try to balance also with our responsibilities and the low risk profile that we try to achieve, but also sustainability,
Yeah.
trying to keep an eye on sustainability and the vast amount of resources that are being consumed by AI services. I think the other perspective from Mendix on Gen AI is supporting developers in building applications. We are already using a lot of their development support solutions, like the recommender, which is more a
Yeah.
machine learning feature, and we're closely following the developments of Maya, of the Mendix AI Assist
Yeah.
solution. At the moment, as far as I understand it, it does rely on connections with the public internet and services, public services, but that's how these sort of solutions also on the Mendix side always start. It starts on their cloud services, and then
Yeah.
later on the roadmap, they start to enable these type of things for on-prem or
Yeah.
self-hosted implementation. So I'm closely following it. I am really a person who likes to see things before he believes
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
I'm also waiting for the first concrete use cases.
Yeah. Sure.
I do believe it will be an accelerator. I don't think that in 5 years' time we don't have any developers anymore, and everything is AI robots developing our software. Because
Yeah.
just like how people overestimated low code, and if you're not careful, building very bad applications really fast, I think with Gen AI that problem is even bigger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm closely following it. We don't have a lot of hands-on use cases at the moment in the Mendix context, but interesting, and
Yeah.
it all changes so fast. So.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also interesting in regards to developers, where obviously with junior developers, you have to make sure are they understanding what they're actually doing, right? It goes back to the whole understanding side with this introduction. Are you going to get a better quality developer versus the current developers on the market, right? Are they really
That's
going
interesting.
to
Yeah. I had
are
that
they going to
discussion
really know it?
with our one of our developers in our team a couple of weeks
Yeah,
ago. I mean, typically you start with as a developer, as a junior developer, you start with the low complexity work. But what if
Yeah,
Gen AI is taking that low complexity work out of
yeah,
your hand? How do you learn? And
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting. Every time I look at a Mendix presentation about AI and Gen AI, it's a new presentation. So
yeah, yeah,
it changes a lot.
yeah,
They're continuously updating the slide deck. So I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
leaning
yeah.
back, see what's happening. I'm closely following also the developments in our organization because
Mm.
although we are very restricted and regulated in a regulated industry, we do recognize that Gen AI will also significantly impact and change the world of banking and financial services. So we are close to the front, but also very conservative when it comes to protecting our data and
Yeah,
having
sure.
secure solutions, etc.
Yeah. And I think it's the more and more discussions I have, it's always about the power of use cases, right? And I think a lot of people tend to, once you see a few, it builds, especially if you see another bank that's done it, it obviously builds even more confidence. I think with these platforms, they have to heavily rely on someone going over the barrier, doing it, and then
Yeah.
hopefully be able to use that and then mark it out and share it with other customers.
Yeah, but that's true, eh? And we do have a very mature organization that we have a central program for Gen AI that is really trying to identify these use cases and filter them out for feasibility. So yeah, I also receive a lot of questions from my consumers. Can you please connect this and this service or open up that and that? And then my question is always, what is your use case? And do you have green light for your use case? And then we can talk about enabling it. So um, yeah, I'm very curious what the future will bring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as you've now been in this space for quite a while, and personally, I think the Netherlands is a very good adopter of low code because there's Mendix, and obviously our system is also very big there. So I think a lot of people know about low code, they're aware, but there's still obviously misconceptions. Do you come across any common misconceptions that you still see? Large enterprises or even developers in your conversations who still aren't fully aware of the capability of low code.
Yes, I mentioned earlier in the interview that low code, that there are still blind spots for low code in our
Mm.
organization. So it's either not understanding it or not having the correct understanding, the understanding of 10 years ago, and not having followed all of the development of low code platforms. So we try to play a role in our organization, but also in the ecosystem. We're quite active in the low code ecosystem, and I guess that's how we met as well, because you
Yes,
are
yes.
also one of those evangelists with your podcast and your company.
Yeah,
Um, we try to just basically share knowledge and talk a lot about low code, and hopefully also convey the passion that I and my team have for low code. Um, there are still a lot of misconceptions, but the only way to address them is to have a dialogue with each other. And
yeah,
things are shifting and changing, um, and I guess this is a never-ending story. We need to continuously talk
yeah,
about this and create understanding. So yeah, misconception sounds a little bit negative. It's more if you don't, it's the unknown, right? And
yeah, yeah,
it's
sure.
just making people aware what is possible and how things are developing, and then have a dialogue on where to use low code. I think low code is now also moving to areas that are a lot more sensitive, and then other discussions pop up like vendor lock-in and do we want to
Yeah.
build these sort of solutions on low code platforms.
Mm.
And those discussions and those dialogues can only take place if everybody is on the same information level. Everybody
Yeah.
understands what low code is and what its limitations are and what its strengths are. So I like to talk a lot about low code, and I hope that also helps with
Yeah.
removing some of the misconceptions and understanding.
Yeah, amazing. And, you touched on it earlier, but it'd be nice to go in a bit more detail about obviously, 10 years, working with the platform, if you were to go back and start again, knowing all the things you know now over the process, what are some things you would do differently if you kind of knew everything you know now and let's say, you just Mendix was brand new for you now, but have all that knowledge. How would you change things?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. And there's always 4 points that I mentioned. Two are really things that we would do differently, and two
Yeah,
things that we would do exactly the same because it works so well.
yeah,
So the first thing that we would do differently if we would start all over again is start with a partner that really understands low code, or Mendix in particular
mm,
in our case, because when you start with low code, you need to realize that um, it is a lot more complex than people think. And again, I said it a couple of times. You really need to do this well, otherwise it's just a means of building bad software really fast. So I think one of the things that we did is that we work with system integrators in our organization, and we're quite happy with them. So obviously, I worked with one of our system integrators, one of our
mm,
preferred suppliers, to establish the whole self-hosted Mendix platform. And then we were done, and we said, okay, now we're open for business, and we asked the same team to start building Mendix applications. And you need to realize that those are completely different disciplines. But yeah, what
yeah,
did I know? I mean, and also, I mean, I didn't know a lot about it. So somebody who knows a
mm,
little bit more than I do in the land of the blind, right? So
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
I think that that's one of the things I learned early on, is that you need to start really with a specialized partner. And then, depending on your sourcing strategy, whether you want to build your own low code capability or you want to continuously and sustainable work with that partner, you then start building out that and maturing that capability. So that's the first lesson learned. If I had to do it all over again, that would be one of my really things I would do differently, is really
mm,
start with a specialized Mendix partner to build your development capabilities. The other thing is something that I'm also very brutally honest always when I do a reference calls or whatever. Um, and this is one of those areas where Mendix would maybe not be so happy that I talk about this, but start with a pricing model that fits your current implementation.
yeah,
So the big pitfall is to start with a huge ambition and then basically choose a pricing model that fits that ambition. So if you're saying I want to build 100 applications, so I need an enterprise license to build an unlimited amount of applications, but you're not going to have 100 applications on day one.
yeah,
In fact, in our first year, we built 10 applications. We
yeah,
had we went full in with an enterprise
yeah, yeah,
license,
yeah,
and they're not cheap. And with 10 applications, it's very easy to calculate your license price per application. And I can tell you
yeah,
that in
yeah,
the first year, we did not have a return on investment. In
mm,
all honesty, Mendix also learned from this. So we have
mm,
these dialogues, we provide them
yeah,
feedback, and now they also realize that the initial phase of a low-code implementation is really key in building a long-term relationship.
yeah,
They are also they don't want you to fail in the first year, where you
yeah,
after the first contract period come to the conclusion, well, we paid a lot of money, but we did not get the return on investment
yeah,
that we envisioned. So yeah, if I were to start all over again, we would probably start with a more conservative pricing model
mm,
and then build up towards the somewhere there must be a tipping point where an enterprise
sure,
license makes more sense, and then switch to an
mm,
enterprise. Those are the two things we would do differently. The things that I think are really key in our success is the dream big, start small. So
mm,
really start very small with these small applications, simple, standalone, learn how to develop low-code applications, and then as you are learning, start extending your box with building blocks, start extending the maturity of your platform, invest in automation in the CI/CD area, and then you can quite organically move into more complex and sensitive areas as we did. We now use Mendix in our customer-facing channels. We use Mendix applications that are quite integrated into our IT landscape. So yeah, start very small. Realize that you need to start small. That not in the first year you have a full low-code implementation, but grow your implementation slowly. And I think a big part of our success is also the federated governance model that we have, where we soon realized that you need to split delivery from enablement and have just one central core team that's fully focused on basically making the life of Mendix developers as easy as possible, so that those teams can fully focus on Mendix development.
Amazing, amazing, and that's it's good that obviously, like you said, it's nice that a lot of things that you actually went out and did were successful, right? So it wasn't just all about we change everything and kind of just if we did it again, you've kind of got good things that have worked and you followed that through 10 years, 10 years going, and like you said, the main goal is if you can make your developer's life easy, then that's just going to affect the whole process of everything kind of being delivered, at a better pace, and the support system is much better for everybody.
I think continuous learning is not only focusing on mistakes; it's also focusing on the things that work well. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why always, I mean, lessons learned is not always sharing mistakes so that others don't have the mistakes, have to make the same mistakes. It's also sharing the stuff that works really well, and these really were instrumental, I think, for our scaling of our platform, starting with one platform, 0 applications, to a platform and now 170 applications in
Wow.
production. Yeah, and we're not done yet. We will
Yeah.
continue our expanding and growing. And
Amazing. Amazing. Well, appreciate you coming on, Mark. It was great to talk to you and hear obviously the journey, the things you've done, the things you're doing, you're planning on doing. I think in a few years' time we could probably have a whole other conversation about what else has happened easily, especially with things are evolving fast with in the AI space as well. So I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch anyway and maybe speak again in the future.
yeah, it was my pleasure. And yeah, don't hesitate in a couple of years' time to check in again to see if
Yeah, sure.
our predictions were correct or not. But
Yeah,
no, thanks a
yeah.
lot for allowing me to be on your platform. I enjoy talking about my hobbies, so it was my
Amazing.
pleasure.
Love it. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.